One of the joys of doing a channel like this is to introduce you to poets that I have loved for a long time and that I think are not so well known. The poet I want to talk about today is a master of the sonnet who arose in the late 1950s and became a prominent poet in England all the way up through the 20-teens. He died in 2016. His name is Geoffrey Hill. I am kind of a collector of first editions of Geoffrey Hill's poetry. This is his Tenebrae, which came out in the 70s, probably my favorite single collection of his. Geoffrey Hill grew up in small-town England in Bromsgrove County. He talks about going to Bromsgrove County High School. He had a wonderful, rich, deep voice. He was the Oxford Professor of Poetry in the last years of his life, I think starting around 2010 up through 2015. But he had a distinguished poetic career starting in the 50s with a collection called For the Unfallen. And in his first couple collections, he published about a collection every decade or so for the first bit of his career, and then published in very quick succession many volumes of poetry starting in the 90s. But I want to look at some of his early sonnets. His second collection, called King Log, which was 1968, starts with a couple sonnets called Annunciations. So this is Annunciation I. The word has been abroad, is back with a tanned look from its subsistence in the stiffening mire. Cleansing has become killing, the reward touchable, overt, clean to the touch. Now at a distance from the steam of beasts, the loathly neckings and fat shook spawn, each specimen jar fed with delicate spawn. The searchers with the curers sit at meat and are satisfied. Such precious things put down, and the red flesh ease through turbulence, the soul purples itself. Each eye squats full and mild, while all who attend to fiddle or to harp for betterment flavor their decent mouths with gobbets of the sweetest sacrifice. This is a poem that helped lead to a reputation for Geoffrey Hill. He went to Oxford. He was educated in the centers of British intellectual society, and he gained a reputation with his first couple collections for being a difficult poet. And you can see that in the density of his words, the loathly neckings and fat shook spawn, each specimen jar fed with delicate spawn. His early poetry, that loathly fat spawn specimen. He's very interested in nature, the natural world, but the visceral details of natural things that aren't necessarily, the sort of airy, beautiful, graceful things. It's the fleshiness of things. And it's interesting because this poem is the first of the Annunciations. So immediately we're thinking a bit about questions of this God is going to come down to man. The Annunciation, of course, is when the angel Gabriel comes to Mary and says, you will be with child and give birth to the Son of God. And so the first line, the word has been abroad, is back with a tanned look from its subsistence in the stiffening mire. It's an idea of word, capital W, the word of God, the second person of the Trinity, Jesus. The word has been on vacation. The word has been abroad. He's been out there. And now he's back with a tanned look. It's almost like if the word wasn't there, we would say, my cousin has been abroad and he's now back in tan. But it's the word, and so it's taking this sort of vacation language, but raising it perhaps, satirizing in an ennobling way to think about the incarnation, that the word has gone out. It has its subsistence in the stiffening mire. This idea of the word going out into the world and becoming flesh. And subsistence is such a wonderful Latin word, in the stiffening mire. it was in the murk and muck of things. How is this a sonnet? Well, it's 14 lines. If we look at the end rhymes, it's a little odd. So we have look, mire, reward, touch, beasts, spawn, meat, down, soul, mild, harp, mouths, sacrifice. There's barely a rhyme scheme at all. You do have the two spawns right next to each other, which is interesting. Hill is not interested in sort of a strict Petrarchan or Shakespearean rhyme scheme, but he is interested in these dense words that you need to take your time with. It's hard to read out loud a Geoffrey Hill poem because of the density of it. And if you look at the rest of the Annunciation, the second Annunciation, O love, subject of the mere diurnal grind, forever being pledged to be redeemed, expose yourself for charity. Be assured the body is but husk and excrement. Enter these deaths according to the law. O visited women, possessed sons, foreign lusts infringe our restraints. The changeable soldiery have their goings out and comings in, dying in abundance. Choicest beasts suffuse the gutters with their colorful blood. O gods, our God scatters corruption. Priests, martyrs, parade to this imperious theme. O love, you know what pains succeed. Be vigilant. Strive to recognize the damned among your friends. Some people, when they read Hill, were like, I think he's talking about something significant. I just don't know what it is. There's this sense of the expression of the difficulty of mortal life, the ethical difficulty, the physical difficulty. Strive to recognize the damned among your friends. This is not a looking on all men as beautiful and perfect and innocent. This is a burly is a word that comes up in his first collection. Burly, I think, is a good descriptor of these sonnets. There's this kind of weighty, serious, sometimes a little bit joking, but kind of, it's almost like a gallows humor that we encounter. So is Hill positive about human nature, about God's love for man? Is he negative? Are we all doomed? Let's look at Tenebrae. Tenebrae came out in the 70s, and it has many more sonnets than King Log does. There's a series of poems in here called Lacrimae, or seven tears figured in seven passionate pavans. And I want to read you the fifth of them, Pavana Dolorosa. Loves I allow, and passions I approve, Ash Wednesday feasts, ascetic opulence, the wincing lute so real in its pretense, itself a passion amorous of love. Self-wounding martyrdom, what joys you have, true torn among this fictive consonance, music's creation of the moveless dance, the decreation to which all must move. Self-seeking hunter of forms, there is no end to such pursuits, none can revoke your cry. Your silence is an ecstasy of sound, and your nocturnals blaze upon the day. I founder in desire for things unfound. I stay amid the things that will not stay. This has some dense language, self-wounding martyrdom, ascetic opulence. But I think there's a little bit more straightforward cry of the human caught in mortality and in loving the impermanent things and knowing one shouldn't. And we have this more clear rhyme scheme. Your nocturnals blaze upon the day. There's a little bit of a paradox in that. I founder in desire for things unfound. I stay amid the things that will not stay. That founder in things unfound, stay amid the things that will not stay. He's getting a little clearer. He's getting a little crisper with his rhyme. And this, I know, I want the things I shouldn't want. I stay among the things that cannot stay. There's a little bit of Platonic paradox here, but it's also Pauline. Geoffrey Hill was, he had kind of a difficult relationship with the church, especially the Church of England, and yet came down upon the side of original sin, he says in his lectures. Man is sinful, God offers salvation, but it's a difficult, difficult life we live. This isn't a happy-go-lucky Christianity or Christian perspective that he's giving us. It reminds me of, St. Paul in the epistles says, that which I do, I don't want to do. That which I want to do, I don't do. There is no health in me. I want to read something that's a little more a little more gentle. Probably my favorite of his sonnets. This is called the Laurel Axe, and maybe one of the best sonnets written in Britain in the second half of the 20th century. Autumn resumes the land, ruffles the woods with smoky wings, entangles them. Trees shine, out from their leaves rocks mildew to moss green. The avenues are spread with brittle floods. Platonic England, house of solitudes, rests in its laurels and its injured stone, replete with complex fortunes that are gone, beset by dynasties of moods and clouds. It stands as though at ease in its own world. The mannerly extortions, languid praise, all that devotion long since bought and sold, the rooms of cedar and soft thudding bays, tremulous boudoirs, where the crystals kissed in cabinets of amethyst and frost. This is a poem that's not particularly religious, but it is political. But it has this wonderful sound, the soft thudding bays, the amethyst and frost. This is kind of an aging England, an idealized England, an England that is forsworn, that has not lived up to its ideals. And yet autumn is coming, and there's this sense of the beauty and the fadingness of England that may be one of the great expressions of the beauty and fadingness of England in the 20th century. And Geoffrey Hill has captured it. So if you like Geoffrey Hill, if you're like, what does he even mean? He's worth spending time with. And I hope this has been a good introduction to a few of his more masterful and difficult sonnets. Thanks so much.